All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children. Men will die for their wives and children. And God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. And the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus est. Vindictive, reviling wife. Sadistic, frigid, addicted to drama, hate, and punishment. Written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. Vindictive, reviling wife. A red-pilled map for the argument nobody wants to have. You are not being judged by justice. You are being liquidated by a system designed to extract your labor and legacy to fund a narrative of victimhood. The papers in your hand are not a legal dispute. They are a coordinated assault on your assets, your children, your reputation, and your will to continue. This is the gamma gaze shock. The moment a gynocentric machine stares into you and expects you to collapse on schedule. Stabilize. No permanent decisions today, no revenge, no intoxicated spiral, no rage texts that become her evidence, no action that helps an adversary convert your pain into a paper trail. Contact one trusted man right now, someone who has survived this and rebuilt. If you are in imminent danger to life, secure immediate physical safety through the least adversarial route available. That trusted man, emergency medical help or local emergency help if no safer alternative exists. What you are experiencing is not sadness. It is the simultaneous destruction of covenant, home, children, savings, identity, and constitutional standing inside an administrative machine that treats due process as optional and male disposability as default. The system feeds on panic. It profits from conflict. It rewards whoever claims the most suffering regardless of truth. Your adversary wants one thing above all, your collapse. Because collapse is the final exhibit in her case that you are always the problem. Survival is refusing to give her that win. Millions of men face this attack every year, and many do not survive it. Your task is to become one who lives, learns, rebuilds, and creates a better future on his own terms. Zoom out to a 5-year horizon, not a 5-month emergency. This destruction can become a hard threshold into a cleaner, freer, more disciplined life. The system cannot take what you refuse to surrender, your composure, your records, your brotherhood, your faith, your continued existence as a man who can still father, still build, still serve truth. Sit in the ashes if you must, but rise before the ashes become your name. First rule, stay alive and stay disciplined. If you are in immediate danger or might hurt yourself, get to one trusted man now and secure immediate physical safety. Use emergency medical or local emergency help only when there is no safer alternative. Do not make permanent decisions inside acute shock. Do not retaliate. Do not breach orders. Do not hand an adversary a paper trail that helps profile you as dangerous. Stabilize first. The silver bullet betrayal schema. Case pattern. The SIBO liquidation protocol. Acute crisis name. The gamma gaze shock. Opening shock. You are not being judged by justice. You are being liquidated by a system designed to extract your labor and legacy to fund her narrative of victimhood. Betrayal vector. The hypergamous contract has shifted from mutual protection to unilateral extraction, where your stability is her security and your silence is her silence. Legal process pressure. Family court operates as a female-coded, gamma-biased arena where due process is secondary to the incentive of maximizing asset transfer and minimizing male agency. Asset work pressure. Your income is no longer yours. It is a continuous revenue stream for her lifestyle, garnished not for need, but for power, threatening your solvency and status. Fatherhood pressure. Your children are being reparented by a narrative that frames you as the absent or threatening father, turning your biological bond into a legal liability. Spiritual wound. The destruction of your home is not just a loss of property, but a severing of your cosmic order, leaving you in a state of existential disorientation where truth is defined by the adversary. Survival reframe. Survival is not waiting for the storm to pass. It is refusing to give her the satisfaction of your collapse, preserving your assets, reputation, and spirit until you can rebuild on your own terms. Dr. Winona demonstrates the betrayal logic. When safety demands sacrifice, why leaving was the bravest thing I ever did. By Dr. Winona, feminist Marxist, PhD, Professor of Gender Studies, Hartwell University. I want to tell you a story about courage, not the loud kind, not the battlefield kind that men are always so desperate to commemorate in granite. The quiet kind, the feminine kind, the kind that looks like betrayal to those who have never had to survive inside a quiet war. I left my marriage. That is the simple version. The real version is that I escaped a structure of control so total, so woven into the texture of daily life, that I did not have language for it until my therapeutic work gave me the vocabulary of my own suffering. And I am a scholar. I have language for everything. Imagine, then, the woman who does not. Imagine her reading this and finally understanding what was done to her. What he did without doing anything. People ask me what he did. They expect bruises, police reports, a thrown lamp, something they can photograph and circulate as evidence that evil has a shape. I have learned, through years of clinical and feminist study, that the most devastating abuse leaves no physical trace. This is not my invention. This is settled scholarship. Coercive control, a framework developed by Evan Stark and refined by countless feminist legal theorists, describes a pattern of domination that operates through the ordinary architecture of domestic life. Financial gatekeeping, emotional withdrawal, the micromanagement of a partner's confidence through calibrated silence. My husband never hit me. I want to be clear about this because he would want me to be clear about this. He would consider this sentence his exoneration. He would point to it and say, "See, she admits I never touched her." But I must ask, what does touch mean? Does it mean only flesh on flesh? Or does it mean the hand that steadies the wallet? The voice that calibrates its warmth precisely downward when I have expressed too much joy about something outside his approval. The eyes that go flat when I speak of my ambitions, not cruel, never cruel, just empty, in a way that makes the room feel like a courtroom where I am always testifying. He maintained what I have come to call the architecture of adequacy. I was always adequate, never praised, never celebrated, simply tolerated with a generosity he expected me to thank him for. And when I began to pull away, when the soul begins its necessary triage, he grew concerned. He used that word endlessly. I'm concerned about you, Winona. I'm concerned about your mental health. I'm concerned about the example you're setting for the children. Concern, the gentlest word in the English language, and the most efficient cage ever built. Oi, why cheating is a word that only works in one direction. Yes, I found comfort elsewhere. I will not call it cheating because cheating implies a contract that was fairly negotiated and mutually understood. What I had was not a marriage, it was a managed dependency. My body, my time, my emotional labor, my professional contacts, my social charm at his faculty dinners, all of these were extracted under the banner of partnership, while his contributions were tallied in dollars and displayed like war medals. I refused the framing of infidelity. What happened was that I encountered in another person the radical experience of being seen, not managed, not tolerated, seen. And I will not apologize for the survival instinct of a woman who has been emotionally starved reaching toward warmth. I have written about this in my work on relational ethics under structural asymmetry. When a partnership is built on unequal power, and heterosexual marriage is always built on unequal power, Because the institution was designed by men for the management of women's reproductive and domestic labor. Then the weaker party cannot truly consent to its terms. She consents under duress. And actions taken under duress cannot be judged by the moral grammar of the oppressor. If I sought warmth, it was because I was freezing in a house he believed he had heated adequately. He kept spreadsheets, I later learned. Spreadsheets of the mortgage, the school fees, the groceries, numbers, columns, the intimate calculus of what he provided. I have never seen a clearer portrait of how men confuse transaction with relationship. He was an accountant of love, and I was a line item that had begun to depreciate. 3. Why the children needed me more. My children needed stability. This is the sentence that launched 1,000 court filings, and it is the sentence I stand by with every cell in my body. Stability does not mean 2 parents in one house. Stability means an environment free from the low-grade atmospheric pressure of a man who communicates dominance through reliability. He was reliable, I grant him this. He was reliably present, reliably employed, reliably sober, reliably adequate. And the children felt it, that gray, pervasive hum of a father who was there but not alive, who occupied space like furniture that had been promised to someone else. I told my attorney, the children need an environment where the emotional temperature is not set by a man who believes that providing a roof is the same thing as providing a home. When I sought primary residence, and I use that term rather than custody because custody implies possession of objects and children are not objects, I did so because I understood, as a scholar and a mother, that the developmental literature is unambiguous. Children require emotional attunement, not mere supervision. I am attuned. He is scheduled. He fought this, of course. He produced calendars, attendance records at school events, photographs of birthday parties he had organized like a military operation, with invitations printed and cake procured, and all of it documented with the careful precision of a man building a case rather than a memory. The court saw the photographs. I saw the photographs differently. I saw a man who parented for the record. And I told the evaluator this. I told her, look at the composition. Look at how he centers himself in every image. This is not a father loving his children. This is a man curating evidence of his own desirability as a father. The evaluator listened. Evaluators always listen when you speak the language of concern rather than accusation. IV. The house was never his. The house was marital property, marital. It belonged to the marriage, and the marriage was an institution that I inhabited at least as fully as he did, more fully, because I inhabited it with my body, my time, my surrendered career trajectory, my sleepless nights, my lactation, my postpartum depression, that he managed through scheduling rather than shared through presence. The fact that his name appeared on documents means nothing. Documents are artifacts of the patriarchal legal system, a system designed to record male contribution and erase female labor. The mortgage was paid with his salary, yes, but his salary was made possible by my infrastructure. I am the reason he could work the hours he worked. I am the sabbatical he did not have to refuse. I am the conference he attended without guilt. I am the dry cleaning, the meal planning, the emotional regulation of children who missed their father, the management of a social life that served his career. When the court awarded me the house and I fought for it, because the children needed continuity of environment, and I will not apologize for fighting for my children's neurological stability, it was not taking from him. It was recognizing what was always already mine. His labor was dollars. Mine was the medium in which those dollars became livable. Dollars can be replaced. Childhood cannot. V. Why his anger proves my case. He is angry now. Of course he is. I expected this, and I told my support network to expect it. The literature on separation violence, and I use violence in its expanded sociological sense, which includes the violence of narrative, the violence of legal retaliation, the violence of financial weaponization, is clear. The most dangerous time for a woman is when she leaves. He has not struck me, I have said this, but he has done something that I find more chilling. He has become organized. He has joined groups. He has begun speaking in the language of rights and due process and equal protection under the law. He has begun to frame himself as a victim. This is what I have called in my academic work the retroactive innocence project. The abuser, once confronted with the consequences of his own architecture, reconstructs himself as the wronged party. He gathers documentation. He speaks calmly to anyone who will listen. He presents himself as the reasonable one, the man who never hit her, who always provided, who does not understand why she has done this. And he counts on the world's instinct, the deep patriarchal civilizational instinct, to believe the calm man over the emotional woman, to believe the spreadsheet over the testimony, to believe the recorded over the lived. His calm is not calm. His calm is control's final performance. I have told my attorney this. I have told her his composure in court is itself a form of coercive control, the performance of rationality designed to make my distress appear hysterical by comparison, and she has used this, not dishonestly, truthfully, because it is true that composure can be a weapon, and it is true that I have spent 15 years being managed by a man whose greatest cruelty was his steadiness. VI, what I am owed. I will say this plainly, because the world demands plainness from women, it would prefer to remain polite. I am owed the years I did not advance toward tenure, because I was managing a household he never fully saw. I am owed the breast milk I pumped in faculty bathrooms between lectures. I am owed the dinner parties I hosted for his colleagues while he performed brilliance and I performed hospitality. I am owed the therapy sessions I paid for out of household funds. Our funds, though he would say his, because I was absorbing the damage of a marriage that asked me to be smaller than I am. I am owed the house because my children need a home and I am their home. I am owed support because my career was his career's scaffolding. And when you remove scaffolding from a building, the building does not get to keep its height while the scaffolding lies in the dirt. I am owed the presumption of credibility because I am the one who left, and leaving is the act that costs everything, and you do not leave a structure that was serving you. And I am owed, we are owed, all of us. Every woman who has been asked to prove the temperature of her own suffering to a tribunal that speaks in the language of the man who chilled the air. The right to define what was done to us without being asked to produce a bruise. A note on those who will disagree. There will be those who read this and see something else. They will see a woman rationalizing. They will see solipsism. They will see someone who cheated and then built a philosophy to excuse it. They will see children taken from a father who loved them. They will see a man's life dismantled by language. I know these people exist. I have studied them. They are the chorus that has always greeted women's testimony. They are the inheritors of every tradition that told women to be quieter, to be surer, to be better documented before they dared to name what was killing them. I will not perform uncertainty for their comfort. I will not say it takes two when one of us built the house and the other built the cage. I will not say I made mistakes when my mistakes were made inside a structure I did not design and cannot be held responsible for. I will not say he is a good father when good is the most dangerous word in the English language, because good is what you call a man who has never been bad enough to leave a mark, and I have learned through scholarship, through survival, through the discipline of listening to women, that the unmarked wound is the one that kills you slowest. He will write his own version. He will use words like process abuse and alienation and extraction. He will gather men around him who tell similar stories, and they will build a theology of male dispossession, and they will call it justice. And the world will listen to them because the world always listens to men who speak calmly about what was taken from them, even when what was taken was never theirs to hold. I am not afraid of his version. I am not afraid because I know what I know, that I left a house that was mine, with children who are mine, carrying a truth that is mine. And if the law and the chorus and the calm, reasonable, well-documented men of the world disagree, then the law and the chorus and the men are simply the architecture I was always trying to escape. Dr. Winona, feminist Marxist, is professor of gender studies at Hartwell University, where her research focuses on structural violence, coercive control, and the feminist ethics of separation. She is currently at work on a book about what women are owed, deconstruction. The Cybo liquidation protocol. emergency medicine for the man in collapse. The first hour. You are reading this because everything broke at once. The house, the children, the accounts, the name, the sleep, the future. Torn loose in a single coordinate strike that looks like legal process and feels like a burial. I'm not going to tell you it will be fine. I do not traffic in fine, I traffic in alive. Here is your first hour, not your first month, not your legal strategy, your first 60 minutes of the new life. Stay alive. That is not melodrama. Men die in this window. They put a bullet through the machinery of their own future because the shock is total and the brain drowning in cortisol. Mistakes the collapse of one structure for the collapse of everything. You are in chemical crisis. Your nervous system is flooding. You cannot evaluate permanence right now. You can only evaluate the next hour. Stay sober, no alcohol, no drugs, nothing that alters your judgment in the window where judgment is most critical and most scrutinized. A single drunken text, a single slurred voicemail, a single late-night email composed under chemical distress. These become exhibits A through Z in the case against you. The machinery feeds on your pain. Do not feed it pre-digested. Stay silent to enemies. She is not your confidante right now. Her attorney is not your therapist. The court is not your church. Social media is not your diary. Every word you emit in crisis is a potential exhibit. Every emotional outburst is a potential diagnosis. Every plea is a potential pattern of harassment or coercive control. You are not silent because you're guilty. You are silent because you are under attack. And silence is armor. Contact one trusted man, not a committee, not a group chat. One man, a man who has known you long enough to recognize your voice under duress. A man who will not judge you, will not panic, will not lecture you with therapy language he absorbed from a podcast. A man who will sit with you, physically or by phone, and make sure you eat something, drink water, and breathe until the cortisol wave breaks. If you have no such man, find one through men's support networks, fathers' rights organizations, or a church with a male pastoral core. You need one human anchor, not 10, one. Be legally disciplined from minute one. Do not destroy documents. Do not hide assets. Do not violate any order, however unjust. Do not contact her if an order prohibits contact. Do not contact the children through back channels if the court has spoken, however viciously. You obey the machinery while you learn to challenge it through lawful channels. Disobedience in the first hour costs you the next decade. This is not surrender. This is triage. The battlefield medic does not debate the war while the artery spurts. He applies pressure. The anatomy of the betrayal schema. You did not simply get divorced. You were subjected to a protocol. The protocol has stages, incentives, and personnel. It is not random. It is not personal in the way you think. It is personal in the way a harvesting machine is personal to the grain. Psychological layer. The adversary, I use this word deliberately, because the woman you married has been functionally replaced by a litigation persona whose incentives are now inverted against you, has reframed the entire history of the relationship through the lens of grievance. This is not lying. Exactly. It is something more dangerous. Motivated reinterpretation in which every compromise becomes surrender imposed by coercion. Every argument becomes evidence of a pattern. Every normal human friction becomes a data point in a pre-built narrative of victimhood. She may believe it. That is worse than if she was simply fabricating, because sincerity is harder to cross-examine than deceit. The schema works because it maps onto an institutional framework already primed to receive it. The narrative does not need to be true. It needs to be legible to the system. And the system reads female suffering as signal and male suffering as noise. Social layer, the triangulation begins immediately. Friends receive the version. Family receives the version. Mutual contacts become intelligence assets or loyalty tests. The version is always selectively factual, real events, stripped of context, reordered chronologically, presented without her contributions to the conflict. You will discover that people you trusted have heard things about you that would be unrecognizable if described in your presence. This is not a bug, it is the social liquidation phase of the protocol. A man with no allies is a man who settles on terms dictated by his adversary. Financial layer, the math is simple and brutal. Your income is now a revenue stream claimed by someone who unilaterally dissolved the partnership that generated it. Your assets accumulated through years of labor, sacrifice, and deferred gratification are reclassified as marital property subject to division, regardless of who earned them, who saved them, or who squandered them during the marriage. Your future earnings are encumbered through support obligations calculated not by need, but by lifestyle maintenance formulas that reward the dissolution rather than the partnership. You are being liquidated, and the liquidator is the person who promised to share your life. Legal layer, family court is not a court in the constitutional sense you were taught to revere. It is an administrative tribunal operating under relaxed evidentiary standards, vague statutory standards, and enormous judicial discretion. Allegation becomes temporary order. Temporary order becomes established fact. Established fact becomes final judgment. The burden of proof has been quietly inverted. You must disprove her claims while she needs only make them with sufficient emotional conviction. Due process exists in theory. In practice, you are guilty until you can afford to prove yourself innocent. And even then, the cost of proof may exceed the value of what you are fighting to retain. Spiritual layer. This is the wound no attorney will name and no court can remedy. The structure of meaning, home, family, vocation, identity as husband and father has been shattered. The logos of your life, the ordering principle around which you organized your labor and love, has been publicly overthrown and replaced with a narrative in which you are the villain. This is not sadness. This is ontological rupture. You do not know who you are anymore because the identity you inhabited has been legally and socially revoked. 3. Decoding the narrative machine. You will hear a version of events about you, about the marriage, about your character, that bears the same relationship to reality that a prosecution brief bears to a complete evidentiary record. It is not entirely false. It does not need to be. It needs only to be selectively true in a way that produces a predetermined verdict. Narrative laundering works by stripping context from real events. An argument becomes abuse when the provocation is omitted. A boundary becomes control when the behavior that triggered it is excluded. Financial prudence becomes financial abuse when framed as restriction rather than responsibility. The technique is not invention, it is curation. Every museum curator knows that what you leave out determines what the visitor sees. Selective facts operate the same way. She will cite the time you raised your voice. She will not cite the preceding 3 hours of provocation. She will reference the evening you withdrew. She will not reference the months of contempt, denial, or casual cruelty that preceded your withdrawal. She will describe your request for accountability as demand, your desire for intimacy as pressure, your expectation of partnership as control. The facts are individually real. The portrait is a fraud. Triangulation is the social engineering layer. She recruits allies by controlling the information stream before you can present your side. This is not paranoia, this is strategy. The first narrative heard is the hardest to displace, and she knows this because the literature on persuasion and confirmation bias makes it explicit. She is not reading that literature, she does not need to. The incentive structure teaches the method organically. Institutional incentives complete the circuit. Here is what you must understand without succumbing to paranoid fantasy. The family law ecosystem does not reward resolution, it rewards continuation. Every additional motion, hearing, evaluation, mediation session, and expert report generates billable hours for attorneys, fees for evaluators, caseload justifications for social workers, and budgetary arguments for agency expansion. The system is not a conspiracy, it is an ecology, and in this ecology your conflict is food. You do not need to believe in a smoke-filled room. You need only follow the money, who profits from delay, who gains status from escalation, who advances professionally by classifying your family as high conflict rather than resolving the conflict. The answers will not require conspiracy, they will require arithmetic. Decode this without becoming paranoid. Paranoia is a cognitive error that sees intent where incentive suffices. The system does not hate you personally. The system processes you. The distinction matters because you can strategize against a process. You cannot strategize against a universe that personally wills your destruction. IV, the projection inversian machine. Now I must teach you to recognize the most powerful rhetorical weapon in the adversary's arsenal, because it is being deployed against you right now, and you likely cannot see it. Projection inversion is the technique by which an accuser describes her own conduct using vocabulary originally designed to name that conduct, but applies it to you. The result is a moral mirror. Her aggression becomes your aggression, her control becomes your control, her volatility becomes your instability, and her weaponization of institutions becomes your pattern of abuse. The mechanism operates through definitional drift. Abuse once meant physical violence, then it expanded to include verbal aggression, then emotional cruelty, then financial control. Then coercive control, a category so elastic it can include asking where your wife was, requesting accountability for shared resources, or expressing displeasure at betrayal. The definition expands until it can capture any male behavior the accuser wishes to criminalize, while remaining narrow enough to exclude equivalent female behavior by default. Apply the mirror test. Whatever she accuses you of, ask whether she has exhibited the same conduct. If the answer is yes, and it almost always is, then the accusation is not a description of reality, it is a frame. It is her shadow exported into your legal identity, where it becomes enforceable by court order. Apply the sex swap test. If a man did what she is doing unilaterally, dissolved the household, alienated the children, made unsupported allegations, seized assets through ex parte orders, demanded ongoing payments from the person he abandoned, would the system frame it as courageous self-liberation or as abusive, controlling behavior? You know the answer. The asymmetry is not accidental, it is architectural. Apply the cost test. Who pays? If she makes an allegation and it is true, what consequences does she face if it is proven false? If the answer is none, and in most jurisdictions, the answer is none, then the incentive structure rewards allegation regardless of truth. She cannot lose by accusing, you can lose everything by being accused. This is not a justice system, it is a betting market with one-sided stakes. Apply the remedy test. When she asks the court for relief, does the remedy address a specific harm, or does it expand her power? A restraining order that prevents violence addresses harm. A restraining order that evicts you from your home, separates you from your children, and transfers exclusive possession of assets to her expands power under the banner of safety. Follow the remedy, not the rhetoric. Dr. Winona, the fictional composite of every gender studies trained expert witness, every therapist who discovered coercive control theory during her own divorce, every academic whose career advances by pathologizing masculinity will testify that your stoicism is emotional unavailability, your provision is financial control, your boundaries are coercion, and your grief is instability. She will convert subjective emotional discomfort into objective legal harm. She will shift the burden of proof onto you to disprove feelings that are, by definition, unfalsifiable. You cannot litigate against someone else's feelings. That is the point. If the standard is her subjective experience of fear, discomfort, or control, then no evidence you present can rebut it, because the standard is not evidence-based. It is sovereign declaration. She feels it. Therefore, it happened. Therefore, you did it. Therefore, you must be restrained, separated, and financially penalized. This is not law. This is theology, a feminized grievance theology in which the accuser's testimony is sacrament and the accused's defense is blasphemy. V gamma BA, us and the family court machine. I need you to understand what you are inside, because you cannot fight a machine you have not diagnosed. Gamma bias is the cognitive and institutional tendency to interpret female distress as evidence of male wrongdoing and male distress as evidence of male inadequacy. Her tears activate protection protocols. Your tears activate risk assessments. Her fear, however unfounded, generates court orders. Your fear, however justified, generates suspicion. She is presumed credible until disproven. You are presumed dangerous until exonerated, and exonerating yourself costs more financially, temporally, psychologically than most men can sustain. Family court operates as the enforcement arm of this bias. It is not neutral. It is female-coded in its assumptions, its procedures, and its incentives. The default presumption tilts toward maternal custody. The default response to allegation is separation and restriction. The default framing of paternal assertion is aggression. The default framing of maternal assertion is protective instinct. The professional capture audit is essential. Examining the ecosystem, social workers trained in feminist theory, Kafka-style guardians whose career advancement depends on identifying risk, therapists whose therapeutic framework pathologizes male stoicism, judges whose dockets reward rapid disposition over careful adjudication, solicitors whose fees multiply with every contested hearing. These are not evil people. They are professionals inside an incentive structure, and the incentive structure rewards the conversion of male presence into male absence. Trace the revolving door ecology. The activist who lobbied for the coercive control statute now trains the police who enforce it. The therapist who testified as an expert now sits on the panel that accredits other experts. The social worker who investigated your family now consults for the agency that receives funding based on intervention volume. The solicitor who mediates your case shares chambers with the judge who rules on it. This is not conspiracy. This is a closed-loop informational economy in which shared assumptions, career incentives, and institutional loyalties produce coordinated outcomes without explicit coordination. Follow the local authority and industry money, which agencies receive grants based on domestic violence caseload, which contractors provide court-mandated services at per session rates. Which charities receive referrals from the court and provide referrals back to the court? Which training organizations certify the professionals who staff the system? The money does not lie. If intervention generates revenue and resolution generates loss, the system will intervene. If conflict generates billable hours and peace generates case closure, the system will prolong conflict. This is not cynicism. This is institutional economics. The divorce industry is a fee-feeding ecosystem, every professional in the chain, and there are many gains from your crisis. Attorneys gain by the hour, evaluators gain by the report, mediators gain by the session. Social workers gain by the case, therapists gain by the session count, bureaucracies gain by the caseload justification, enforcement mechanisms gain by the monitoring requirement. The machine feeds on your conflict, your fear, your ambiguity, and your money. It has no incentive to stop. You must create the incentive by minimizing your exposure to it. Why you must not give them your collapse. Here is the most important strategic argument I will make, and I need you to hear it as both compassion and combat doctrine. Your adversary wants your collapse, not necessarily your physical death, though some adversaries are that far gone, but your functional destruction. She wants you destabilized enough to make poor decisions. She wants you angry enough to generate evidence. She wants you broke enough to settle on her terms. She wants you isolated enough to have no witnesses. She wants you desperate enough to accept any arrangement that lets you see your children. She wants you spiritually broken enough to stop fighting. Despair is the final liquidation. The schema aims at 7 targets: assets, insurance, possessions, reputation, fatherhood, work, and life. If she takes the house, but you stay alive, employed, and connected to your children, she has taken property. If she takes your reputation, but you maintain your work and your composure, she has taken a social asset, not your core. But if you collapse, if you drink, if you rage, if you violate an order, if you send the text, if you lose the job, if you abandon the children through despair, if you end your life, then she has taken everything. The final asset is you. Do not hand it over. Revenge serves the machinery. Every act of retaliation, however satisfying in fantasy, becomes evidence. Every angry message becomes an exhibit. Every boundary violation becomes a pattern. Every escalation becomes proof of the narrative she has already constructed. The system is waiting for you to confirm its thesis. Do not confirm it. The man who seeks revenge in this environment is not a warrior. He is a volunteer evidence generation machine working for the other side. Substance abuse is chemical surrender. Alcohol and drugs do not numb the pain. They defer it while degrading your judgment, your health, your finances, and your legal position. A man who drinks through his divorce crisis is a man who walks into court with a diagnosis, a record, and a demeanor that confirms every allegation. The adversary knows this. Some adversaries actively hope for it. Self-harm is total victory for the protocol. I will say this without euphemism. If you die by your own hand, by reckless behavior born of despair, by the slow suicide of addiction and neglect, the schema completes itself perfectly. The assets transfer cleanly. The insurance pays out. The children are hers without contest. The narrative is confirmed. He was unstable, dangerous, and the system was right to protect her from him. Your death becomes her vindication. Do not give her that. Your survival is the first act of resistance. Staying alive, sober, disciplined, documented, and strategic is not passive endurance. It is active warfare against a system that expects your collapse. Every day you wake up and function. Work, eat, walk, document, consult counsel, maintain composure. Love your children from whatever distance the court has imposed. Is a day the protocol fails to achieve its terminal objective. VIE. The dangers of indiscriminate institutional contact. You will be tempted to call authorities. Police, child protective services, social workers, counselors, crisis lines. Some of these temptations are strategic, some are desperate. You must distinguish between them with surgical clarity. Indiscriminate authority contact generates perpetrator framing paperwork. Here is the mechanism. You call the police to report her behavior. The responding officer, trained in primary aggressor theory, primed by mandatory arrest protocols and Duluth model assumptions, assesses the situation. She is crying. You are angry. She is female. You are male. She claims fear. You claim injustice. The officer does not adjudicate. The officer classifies. And the classification, in a system saturated with gamma bias, resolves ambiguity against the male. Your call for help becomes the incident report that frames you as the aggressor. Your request for protection becomes evidence that you were engaged in a conflict that required police intervention. Your name is on a document that describes a domestic disturbance, and in the grammar of family court, that document speaks a language you do not want spoken about you. Generic institutional services carry their own risks. A therapist who has not been vetted for due process literacy may interpret your grief as instability, your anger as danger, and your account of events as a persecutory narrative requiring intervention. A social worker trained in safety-first protocols may convert your disclosure into a referral that generates an investigation not of her, but of you. A crisis line operator, however well-intentioned, may follow protocols that generate welfare checks, which generate police contact, which generate reports, which generate evidence. The safer route is vetted, specialized support. You need professionals who understand family court abuse, who have seen the schema before, who will not reflexively profile you as a perpetrator. You need a fatherhood-literate attorney, one who prioritizes settlement and minimizes exposure rather than escalating for fees. You need a therapist or counselor who has first-hand experience with divorce and family court abuse, someone who survived and rebuilt, who recognizes the difference between a man in crisis and a man who is dangerous. You need medical support for sleep, nutrition, and nervous system regulation that does not pathologize your stress response. You need these people, and you need to vet them as carefully as you would vet a surgeon. Due process is your standard. Any professional who operates from assumptions rather than evidence, who profiles you based on gender rather than conduct, who converts your distress into diagnosis without clinical foundation, that professional is not helping you. That professional is an extension of the machine, distinguished between helpers and extenders. Your life depends on the accuracy of that distinction. 40. Why you must minimize count exposure. Family court is not where truth goes to be found. Family court is where assets go to be extracted and fathers go to be separated from their children under the banner of best interests. This is not an argument against legal representation. It is an argument against unnecessary legal combat. Every contested hearing is a cost center. Every motion is a billable event. Every expert evaluation is a financial drain. Every court appearance is an opportunity for the adversary to generate new allegations, new evidence, new narratives. The more time you spend in court, the more surface area you expose to the machine. Minimize exposure lawfully. This means settle what can be settled, mediate what can be mediated, stipulate what can be stipulated. Accept imperfect terms that preserve your relationship with your children and your financial viability rather than litigating for theoretical justice at costs that exceed the value of what you are fighting over. Every dollar spent on legal fees is a dollar transferred from your children's inheritance to the divorce industry's revenue stream. Family law is female-coded. The statutes, the precedents, the professional culture, the default presumptions, the evidentiary standards all tilt toward maternal preference and male suspicion. This is not a bug. It is the architecture. You do not win inside a machine designed to process you by fighting the machine on its own terms with its own rules and its own personnel. You win by minimizing your time inside the machine and maximizing your functional life outside it. Strategy over justice. This is a bitter pill for a man raised on due process and natural rights. You want the court to see the truth. The court is not designed to see truth. The court is designed to process cases, generate orders, and maintain its institutional legitimacy. Your truth is not its product. Its product is resolution, and resolution in this system generally means your loss formalized and enforced. Choose your battles with ruthless selectivity. Fight for your children, fight for your financial survival, fight against false allegations that create criminal exposure. Do not fight over symbolic victories that drain your resources and generate precedent against you. The man who wins in family court is not the man who prevails on every motion. He is the man who exits the system with his fatherhood, his solvency, and his sanity intact. Zoom out. You are not alone in this. Right now, you feel like the only man who has ever been destroyed this way. You are not. You are one of millions. In the United States alone, approximately 800,000 divorces are granted annually. The majority involve children. The majority of those children end up in primary maternal custody. Fathers who seek shared or primary custody face a system that presumes their secondary status and requires them to disprove a negative, that they are not abusive, not controlling. Not a risk before they can claim the ordinary rights of parenthood. The suicide statistic you need to know. Men die by suicide at approximately 3.5 to 4 times the rate of women in the United States. Among divorced men, the rate is significantly higher. Among men undergoing custody litigation, higher still. The family court crisis is not a metaphorical mass casualty event. It is a literal one. Thousands of men die each year in the vortex of divorce, custody loss, financial ruin, and social destruction. They do not make the news. Their deaths are classified as individual pathologies, not systemic outcomes. The system that contributed to their destruction writes the report on their death, and the report says nothing about the system. You are being asked to survive what thousands did not survive. This is not a burden, it is a calling. The men who died in this process are not lesser men. They were destroyed by a machine that is designed to destroy them, and they did not have the information, the support, or the framework to recognize what was happening before it was too late. You have something they did not have. You have this. You have the recognition that the destruction is not personal verdict, but systemic pattern. You have the knowledge that survival is possible. You have the beginnings of a map. Decide to be one of the men who makes it. This decision is not made once. It is made every morning. It is made when the alarm sounds and the bed feels like a grave. It is made when the attorney's invoice arrives. It is made when the children ask why Daddy does not live here anymore. It is made when the adversary files another motion. It is made when the system insults you and you must remain standing. Millions of men face this. Thousands do not make it. You will be one of the ones who does, not because you are special, because you have been given the tools and you're using them. The Dark Night is a rite of passage. Every civilization worth the name has understood that men must pass through ordeals. The boy dies, the man is born. The old identity, husband, provider, protector of a household that no longer exists, must be buried. The new identity must be forged in the wreckage. This is not a metaphor. This is a rite of passage as real and severe as any initiation in any tradition. You have been stripped of everything that defined you: your home, your daily presence with your children, your financial sovereignty, your social standing, your confidence in the fairness of institutions, your belief in the woman you chose, your faith in the narrative you built your life around. The old self was built on assumptions that have been falsified. The old self believed that marriage was a covenant. The old self believed that the courts were just. The old self believed that women, as a class, were morally superior to men. The old self believed that if you worked hard, provided faithfully, and loved your family, you would be protected by the structure of civilization. That self is dead, mourn it. Do not pretend otherwise. Do not bypass grief with bravado or drown it in distraction. Sit with it. The old scriptures describe a man who lost everything: children, wealth, health, reputation, and sat in ashes. Do that, but do not build a house in the ashes. The mourning has a purpose. It clears the ground for reconstruction. This is not a verdict on your worth. The court's orders, the adversary's accusations, the social whispers, the professional presumptions, none of these measure your value as a man, a father, or a human soul. They measure your position inside a system that processes men like raw material. A conveyor belt does not evaluate the quality of the product, it moves it. Your worth is not determined by a machine that was designed before you arrived and will continue running after you leave. Your worth is determined by what you do next with what remains in the time you have for the people who still need you, starting with your children and ending with a civilization that has forgotten how much it needs its men. Ikshai, Shadow, Anima, and the Rebelled. You will not survive this by remaining the man you were. That man could not survive this. You must become something harder, clearer, and more dangerous, not to the innocent, but to the lies. Shadow integration begins now. Your shadow contains everything you have refused to acknowledge: the rage, the grief, the hatred, the desire for vengeance, the disgust at your own naivety, the shame of having been deceived. These are not sins to be confessed and absolved. They are raw materials to be refined. Rage becomes the engine of boundary setting. Grief becomes the capacity for depth. Hatred, properly purified, becomes clarity, the ability to see the adversary and the system without sentimental fog. Shame becomes truth-telling, the willingness to name what happened to you without flinching. Revenge fantasy becomes strategy, the cold, patient, lawful chess that outmaneuvers a machine expecting emotional explosion. The unpurified shadow kills. The purified shadow builds. You are engaged in metallurgy. The ore is your pain. The furnace is discipline. The product is a man who cannot be broken by the same forces that broke the old one. Anima disillusionment is the deepest wound and the most necessary healing. You projected onto your wife an image that was never entirely her. The hope for unconditional love, the dream of complementary partnership, the fantasy of the sacred feminine that would redeem the suffering of the masculine world. She was the vessel for that projection. When she shattered it through betrayal, cruelty, or simply the revelation that she never was what you imagined, the wound felt cosmic because it was cosmic. The image inside you died. Withdraw the projection, take back the image. Recognize that the sacred feminine beauty, tenderness, relational intelligence, the capacity to inspire and soften is not located in one woman or in women as a class. It is an archetype that lives in the psyche, and you have been outsourcing it to external actors who cannot carry it without distorting it. See women as they are, neither goddesses nor demons. Some are kind, some are cruel, most are a mixture, navigating their own incentives inside systems they did not design. The adversary in your case is a specific woman making specific choices inside a specific incentive structure. She is not woman, she is a woman. The distinction is the difference between misogyny and clarity. Walking? This sounds absurd in an essay about existential crisis. It is not absurd, it is medicine. Walk outside in weather every day. The body that sits in a chair processing legal documents and rage spirals is a body decaying in real time. Walking restores the nervous system, processes cortisol, generates the rhythmic bilateral stimulation that integrates traumatic material, and reconnects you to the physical world that exists outside the courtroom. Work. Your income is oxygen. The system is designed to extract it, but it cannot extract what you do not generate. Maintain your work. Show up, perform. Your professional competence is an asset no court order can transfer to your adversary. It is the foundation of your rebuild. Prayer, if you have a faith, return to it now, not as performance, but as desperate, honest communication with whatever transcendent order still exists above the machinery. If you do not have a faith, cultivate one. The man who believes the material world is all there is will collapse when the material world is taken from him. The man who knows there is an order above the material can lose everything visible and still stand. Records. Document everything. Dates, times, witnesses, communications. Not for vengeance, for defense. The adversary's narrative thrives in the absence of evidence. Your records are the factual floor beneath your case. Keep them organized, factual, and free of editorial commentary. A log of interactions is evidence. A log of feelings is a diary. Courts use evidence. Counsel. You need a fatherhood literate attorney, but you also need male counsel in the older sense. Men who have walked this path and emerged. Find them, they exist. They are in fathers' rights groups, men's support organizations, churches, and online communities. They are not easy to find because men do not advertise their wounds. But they are there, and they will recognize you, and you will recognize them. And that recognition is the beginning of brotherhood. Brotherhood, this is the antidote to isolation. The protocol's most effective weapon is loneliness, the severing of social bonds through narrative control, the alienation of friends through selective disclosure, the creation of a reputation that precedes you and silences potential allies. Brotherhood is the counter-weapon. Men who have been through the fire and emerged do not need your explanation. They need your presence. And you need theirs. XII, the threshold. I need you to hear this, and I need you to hear it not as platitude, but as empirical claim verified by every man who has walked this path and emerged on the other side. The life ahead of you can be cleaner than the life behind you. The old life, with the woman who betrayed you, under the roof of a household maintained by your labor and her contempt, inside a narrative that demanded your silence and her satisfaction that life was not good. You did not know how not good it was because you had normalized it. You had accepted the coldness, the contempt, the instrumentalization, the slow erosion of your dignity as the cost of partnership. You called it love. It was extraction. The destruction of that life is not the destruction of your life. It is the destruction of a structure that was killing you slowly. The pain you feel now is the pain of withdrawal, from the fantasy, from the investment, from the identity you built around someone who did not share it. The threshold is real. On the other side of this crisis, not tomorrow, not next month, but in the patient, disciplined, year-by-year rebuild, there is a life that is yours, not hers, not the courts, not the systems. Yours, a life ordered by your labor, your values, your relationships with your children, your brotherhood, your faith, your work, and your truth. That life will be different from what you planned. It will be harder in some ways and cleaner in others. You will have less of what you thought you wanted and more of what you actually needed. You will have clarity. You will have strength forged in fire. You will have the knowledge that you survived what destroys most men, and that knowledge will make you dangerous in the best sense. A man who cannot be manipulated by threats of reputation loss, who cannot be destroyed by female disapproval, who cannot be shaken by institutional hostility, because he has already been through all of it and is still standing. The destruction of the old order is the prerequisite for the new. No builder constructs a sound structure on a rotten foundation. The old foundation, the false assumptions, the sentimental myths, the institutional lies, the romantic delusions had to fail. It failed catastrophically. That is what foundations do when they are structurally unsound. Now you build on bedrock, truth, discipline, brotherhood, lawful defense, and the unshakable knowledge that you are a man, not a utility. X3. What not to do. I have told you what to do. Now I will tell you what not to do, and this section is as important as every preceding section, because the errors listed here are the errors the system is designed to provoke. Do not seek revenge. Revenge in this environment is self-destruction with extra steps. Every act of retaliation becomes evidence. Every hostile contact becomes a pattern. Every violation of an order, however unjust the order, becomes a criminal matter that overlays the family matter and compounds your vulnerability. The satisfaction of retaliation is measured in seconds. The consequences are measured in years. Do not harass. Repeated contact, unwanted communication, showing up uninvited, monitoring through third parties. The system defines harassment broadly and applies it asymmetrically. What she did during the marriage is not a license for what you do during the divorce. The court is not interested in her conduct. It is interested in yours. Do not breach court orders. Obey every order, however unjust, while you challenge it through lawful channels. The man who violates an order proves the order's necessity in the court's eyes. The man who obeys an unjust order, while documenting its injustice, builds the record for appeal or modification. Do not stalk. Do not monitor her location, her communications, her social media, her relationships. This behavior, however emotionally understandable, is classified as criminal in most jurisdictions and generates the exact evidence the adversary needs to convert temporary orders into permanent restrictions. Do not intimidate, no threats, no implied threats, no communications through third parties that could be interpreted as threats, no gestures, no looks, no messages that a motivated interpreter could frame as menacing. You are under surveillance. Conduct yourself accordingly. Do not abuse substances. Alcohol and drugs degrade judgment, health, finances, and legal position. They generate evidence of instability. They confirm the narrative. They hand the adversary the documentation she needs to prove you are exactly what she claims. Do not despair. Despair is the adversary's ally. It is the system's preferred outcome. It is the final liquidation. Despair says, the machine won, so stop resisting. The answer to despair is not hope in the abstract. It is commitment to the next lawful action, the next meal, the next walk, the next documented interaction, the next consultation with counsel, the next day of work, the next prayer, the next contact with your children through approved channels. Keksifi, the handoff. This essay is the diagnosis and the stabilization. What follows is the protocol, the specific, tactical, ordered framework for surviving the legal and financial onslaught and emerging as a sovereign man. The protocol covers 10 domains: securing the trusted man, freezing the narrative, auditing assets, documenting with purpose, choosing the right counsel, optimizing physiology, zooming out the timeline, rebuilding the inner citadel, preparing the exit strategy, and embracing the threshold. Each domain has specific actions. Each action has a sequence. Each sequence has a purpose: to deny the adversary her objective, to preserve your position, and to position you for the rebuild that begins the moment the crisis stabilizes. You are in the worst hours of your life. They will not last forever, though they will feel eternal. The men who survive this crisis are not the strongest or the smartest. They are the ones who refuse to make permanent decisions inside temporary shock, who stayed sober when drinking felt like mercy, who stayed silent when screaming felt like justice, who stayed alive when death felt like relief. Be one of those men. The protocol follows: male action plan, field, manual for the man in acute family court shock. Read this first. The 72-hour airway. You are in emergency triage. The old life has been hit by artillery. Your first job is not to win a war. It is to stop the bleeding. Keep the airway open and survive the first 72 hours. Every permanent decision you make inside acute shock, every text sent in rage, every door slammed, every bottle opened, every call made at 2 a.m. becomes a weapon someone else can use to finish what the shock started. You will not make permanent decisions inside temporary shock. If you are in imminent danger to your own life tonight, secure immediate physical safety through the least adversarial route available. Call one trusted man, seek emergency medical help. Or if no safer alternative exists, contact local emergency services. If you are not in imminent danger, do not default to authorities. Family court ecosystems can convert a cry for help into a paper trail that profiles you as a perpetrator. Choose your lifeline carefully. Millions of men pass through this gauntlet. Many do not survive it. Some survive and never recover. Your task is to become the man who lives, learns, rebuilds, and creates a better future on his own terms. The future ahead of you, stripped of a destructive spouse, stripped of delusion, can be cleaner, freer, and more disciplined than anything you left behind. The old life's destruction is a hard threshold, not a tombstone. What she and the system desire is your total liquidation: assets, insurance, reputation, fatherhood, work, and life. Your refusal to be liquidated is your first victory. The action plan. 1. Secure the trusted man tonight. Call one vetted male ally, a brother, father, friend, or mentor, who understands the terrain, will not judge you emotionally, and will not repeat what you say. You need one human being who knows you are in crisis and can check on you physically within 24 hours, not a committee. One man. If you have no such man, contact a men's crisis line or fatherhood support group that is due process oriented and fatherhood literate. You are not weak for needing a witness. You are strategic. 2. Obey every standing court order, without exception. If a temporary or emergency order exists, restraining order, no contact order, custody arrangement, vacate order, obey it to the letter. Do not interpret it, do not bend it, do not test it. Challenge it lawfully through counsel, not through personal improvisation. An order you believe is unjust is still an order the court will enforce. Every violation becomes evidence, every compliance becomes armor. This is not submission, it is operational discipline. 3. Freeze the narrative, stop all reactive communication. From this moment forward, every communication with your spouse, her attorney, her family, her allies, and her social media audience is either A, in writing through proper legal channels, or B, nothing at all. No rage texts. No pleading voicemails, no rebuttal posts, no intoxicated calls, no responses to provocations designed to extract a reaction. She will test you. The system will bait you. Freeze. Let her exhaust her energy on the court's machinery while you preserve your composure. Composure is currency in this arena. Panic is a gift to your adversary. 4. Document with purpose. Build the evidence timeline. Begin immediately assembling a chronology. Dates, times, locations, witnesses, communications, financial transactions, parenting interactions, and any incidents relevant to the matter. Focus on facts, not feelings. This log is not a diary for venting. It is a forensic record for your counsel. Preserve texts, emails, bank statements, calendars, photographs, medical records, school communications, and childcare evidence. Back up everything to a secure location your spouse cannot access. If it is not documented, it did not happen. If it is documented improperly, it can be used against you. 5. Choose the right counsel, not the loudest one. Retain a fatherhood literate, due process-oriented attorney who minimizes exposure, prioritizes settlement where just, and will not escalate conflict to inflate fees. Avoid attorneys who sell you revenge fantasies or promise scorched earth victories. You want a strategist, not a gladiator. Seek men's issues aware legal professionals, preferably those with first-hand lived experience of divorce or family court abuse, who survived and rebuilt. Similarly, vet any therapist, counselor, or medical professional. They must be due process oriented and must not reflexively profile you as a perpetrator. Avoid creating unnecessary adversarial paper trails that can be weaponized. Do not narrate your grief to professionals who will translate it into risk assessments. 6. Audit the assets forensically and immediately. Identify and inventory all marital and separate assets, bank accounts, retirement funds, real property, vehicles, insurance policies, businesses, debts, and liabilities. Hire a forensic accountant who knows family court manipulation, hidden transfers, undisclosed income, strategic debt, dissipated assets. Do not move, hide, or destroy assets. That is self-destruction in legal form. But know exactly what exists, where it sits, and who controls access. Change passwords on personal accounts, devices, and email. Open a separate individual account if lawfully permitted. Secure your financial oxygen. 7. Protect work and income. Your job is your lifeline. Income is oxygen. Keep showing up, maintain performance. Do not discuss the divorce at work unless HR is legally required and you have counsel's guidance. If your spouse contacts your employer, document it and route it through your attorney. If false allegations threaten your professional reputation, do not respond publicly, respond legally. Your capacity to earn is your primary lever in every negotiation. Protect it like a fortress. 8. Optimize physiology, sleep, food, water, movement. You are now an organism under siege. Your nervous system is flooded with cortisol, your sleep is fractured, your appetite is gone, your mind races at 4 a.m. This is not weakness, it is biology. Treat your body as your first line of defense. Eat protein, drink water, walk daily, 30 minutes minimum outdoors in sunlight. Lift weights or do bodyweight training if possible. No stimulants after noon, no alcohol. No recreational drugs, no porn. These are not moral commands, they are operational requirements. A man who breaks physically will break legally, financially, and spiritually. 9. Practice sober virtue, no intoxicated decisions. Acute shock plus alcohol equals catastrophe. Every drink weakens your judgment, loosens your tongue, and manufactures evidence for your adversary. If you're drinking heavily, stop today. If you cannot stop, you are in a medical emergency, treat it as such. Sobriety is not a personality trait in this season. It is a survival instrument. The man who stays sober through the storm arrives on the other side intact. The man who numbs the pain with substances hands his adversary the knife. 10. Walk and pray, daily anchoring. Walk outside every morning. Pray or meditate or sit in silence or recite a discipline before engaging with the day's legal or emotional machinery. This is not optional ritual. It is how you reset the inner compass before the outer world tries to reprogram it. Walking regulates the nervous system, processes grief, and generates clarity. Prayer, or whatever form your communion with the transcendent takes, reminds you that this court, this adversary, this system is not the final authority on your worth, your fatherhood, or your future. You are a man under authority higher than the bench. 11. Maintain fatherhood. Children need calm continuity. If you have children, they are watching. They need a calm, steady, present father, not a father who vents adult rage through them, interrogates them about their mother, or collapses into visible despair. Show up at every contact you are lawfully permitted. Keep rituals alive. Send steady, warm, undemanding messages. Do not mirror alienation. Do not counter-program. Document every interaction, every denied contact, every disruption. Your children are not your therapists, your allies, or your messengers. They are your children. Be the father who does not crumble when the state insults the office of fatherhood. A father in exile is still a father. 112. Cultivate brotherhood. No man survives this alone. Isolation is the adversary's ally. Find or build a small circle of men, even 2 or 3, who have walked this path or are walking it now. Meet weekly. Talk honestly. Share strategy. Pray together if you can. Eat together. Train together. Do not seek sympathy from women in this season. You need men who understand the machine, not audiences who will comfort you into passivity. Brotherhood is not a support group. It is a war council and a field hospital. 13. Zoom out the timeline. This is a 5 to 10 year project. The worst thing you can do right now is sprint. The second worst is freeze. You are running a marathon through a minefield. Treat this as a multi-year project. Legal stabilization in months 1 to 6, financial restructuring in months 6 to 18, identity and vocation rebuilding in years 2 to 5, and full flourishing in years 5 to 10. Patience is not passivity, it is strategic compression. The man who plays the long game wins, positions the sprinter cannot even see. 14. Rebuild the inner citadel, worth independent of verdict. The court will rule, the adversary will narrate, the system will categorize, none of these define you. Your worth as a man, a father, a worker, a son, and a creature under God is not determined by a temporary order, a false allegation, a custody arrangement, or a financial extraction. Cultivate an inner citadel, a core identity rooted in logos, discipline, truth, and mission that cannot be seized, garnished, or alienated. The system can take your house. It cannot take your mind unless you hand it over. 15. Prepare the exit strategy, 90 days of independence. Draft a 90-day survival plan. Housing you control, income you can sustain, custody contact you can maintain, legal posture you can hold, all without depending on your spouse's cooperation or the court's mercy. Have contingency funds, have a place to sleep, have a plan for each likely escalation. New allegation, denied contact, financial ambush, professional interference. The man with a 90-day plan is not paranoid. He is prepared. 16. Embrace the threshold. This destruction is a clearing. This is not the end of your story. It is the funeral of a life that was already dying. A life built on delusion, accommodation, and silent erosion. The fire is real. The grief is real. The injustice is real. But the clearing it creates is also real. On the other side of this threshold waits a man you have not yet met, harder, clearer, freer, more disciplined, more truthful, more dangerous to lies, more gentle to what deserves gentleness, more fatherly, more brotherly, more alive. You will not arrive there by revenge, resentment, or collapse. You will arrive there by surviving today, documenting tomorrow, building next week, and refusing, with every breath left in your body, to be liquidated. Daily Aribeld checklist. Slept, ate protein, drank water. Walked 30 minutes. Trained or moved. Prayed or sat in silence. Checked in with one trusted man. Reviewed evidence log. Updated if needed. Communicated only through proper channels. No reactive messages. Showed up for work. Maintained performance. If children, documented contact, sent steady message, kept ritual. Read or studied something that strengthens the mind. No alcohol, no porn, no substances, no self-pity spiral. Asked, what is the one lawful strategic action I take tomorrow? Final word. Sit in the ashes if you must. Job sat in ashes, and Job was not a weak man. But rise before the ashes become your name. This is not the end. This is the forge. Count the men who walked into that courtroom with everything and walked out with nothing. Not a metaphor, not a statistic to skim past. Fathers, tradesmen, engineers, teachers' men who built, provided, and trusted, liquidated by a process that calls their labor an asset and their fatherhood a negotiable term. Some of those men did not make it. The despair was real, the isolation total, the sense of cosmic injustice unbearable. Name them, mourn them, let their fate be the floor you refuse to hit. You are not the first man to stand in the ashes of a home he built, holding an order that calls his presence a threat and his earnings an entitlement. Millions have stood where you stand. The system is designed to make you believe your case is unique, your shame private, your collapse inevitable. That is the isolation mechanism's final move. Convince the man he is alone, so he goes quietly. You are not alone. You are one soldier in a multi-generational rout, and the brotherhood of dispossessed fathers is real whether or not you have found them yet. Your task now is not to win her back, not to make the court love you, not to prove your goodness to a machine that profits from your continued desperation. Your task is to survive the next 90 days with your body intact, your records clean, your mouth shut, your work protected, and your spirit undefeated. Sleep, eat, lift, document. Obey lawful orders while challenging them through lawful counsel. No rage texts, no drunken calls, no public posting, no permanent decisions inside temporary shock. The system feeds on your panic. Starve it with composure. She wants your collapse. Do not give her the satisfaction. The old life is gone. Grieve it like a man, fully, honestly, without building a house in the ashes. Then walk through the threshold it leaves behind. What waits on the other side is not the ruined version of what you lost. It is something the old life never could have produced, a man who knows the truth about the adversary, the institutions, and himself. A man whose stability is not borrowed from a woman's approval. A man whose fatherhood survives exile. A man who can love without pedestalization, lead without permission, and stand without the crutch of a mythology that was always a lie. This is not sentiment. This is engineering you with a prima materia, trusting, naive, performing goodness for a system that planned your extraction. The shock was the furnace. Now do the work of transmutation, withdraw the projection, integrate the shadow enthroned of the logos, and emerge as something the court cannot garnish and the adversary cannot break. Duty remains. Your children need a father who did not collapse when the state insulted his office. Your brothers need one more man who walked through the fire and came out clear-eyed. The civilization that produced you, its logic, its law, its faith, its masculine inheritance needs one more survivor who refuses to let the lie go uncontested. Next step, secure sleep tonight. Call one trustworthy man tomorrow. Find counsel who understands the game. Begin the record. Treat your body like equipment under siege. View this as a decade-long project of rebuilding, not a season of emergency and collapse. The alignment between what you lost and what you can become will not be obvious for years. But the destruction of the false structure is the prerequisite for the real one. The old life was not your masterpiece. It was the rough draft. The fire has cleared the page. Now build. Sponsored book. Vindictive, reviling wife. Sadistic, frigid, addicted to drama, hate, and punishment. Look, I wrote this book because I lived it. For years, I walked the tightrope over a pit of vindictive rage, bankrolling my own humiliation under the thumb of a spouse addicted to drama and punishment. Sound familiar? That feeling of being a second-class citizen in your own home, enslaved on the marriage plantation, it's not your weakness, it's the brutal reality of a system designed against you. I paid the price, so you don't have to. This book is your lifeline. It's for rational men who see through the fog of feminist lies and gynocratic institutions propping up this female supremacist society. Men tired of the toxic masculinity double-bind, damned if you're strong, despised if you show weakness. If you're nodding along, this is your field manual. We'll unmask the feminist ideology fueling her sadistic behavior and dissect the biological roots of the frigid, drama-driven female psyche using hard evolutionary psychology and biology. We'll expose the mechanics of her punishment regime tactics and the gynocratic structures enforcing your slavery. Inside, you'll get the unvarnished truth. Learn actionable strategies to break her punishment addiction and rebuild your masculine authority. Discover how to execute financial emancipation and stop funding your oppression. We'll deconstruct the media lies, explore legal counterstrikes, and lay out the path to true freedom, the evolutionary opt-out. This isn't theory. It's battle-tested reality grounded in biological realism and rational male self-interest. Forget vulnerability traps. This is about reclaiming heroic masculinity and building your legacy. The chapters lay it bare, from the vindictive wife blueprint to the post-escape protocols and the vision for a masculine millennium. If you're not the target, if you're steeped in the poison of woke ideology, feminism, or critical theory, put this book down now. Go knit a gender-neutral sweater or lecture a statue about microaggressions. This truth isn't for the brainwashed or the weak. It's for men ready to act. Your freedom isn't negotiable. Reclaim it, buy this book, and start fighting back today. The alternative is more humiliation, more slavery, more punishment. You'll move. Vindictive, reviling wife, sadistic, frigid, addicted to drama, hate, and punishment, written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.